Hello and welcome to the commentary for High Performance Imports V8 Part 4. For this chapter I took a trip down to Suzuka in Mie Prefecture, which people interested in Formula 1 or Motorcycle Grand Prix would be pretty familiar with. I called it a time attack day, although I think really it was just an open practice day. Unfortunately, like any major track like this, it's enormous, so trying to get some good exterior footage of individual cars going past was really hard. I could get into the pits like I am just there, or I could get around to the last of the S's, but to get anywhere else I would have had to go over a bridge or under a tunnel, can't remember which, at Suzuka, and walk for miles and miles to get to another part of the track. So basically I relied pretty heavily on in-car footage for this.
Suzuka Circuit is most famous for the Formula 1 race held here, but for the rest of the year it is open to other events, like this circuit run organised by Battle magazine. Most of the local workshops attended the event, using it as a chance to set up their demo cars. Some were cars built for the Super Taikyu series, others were set up for time attack or just general circuit thrashing. The variety of cars was such that they just had to split them into two big groups based on lap times. It's pretty easy to see which group this car was in, though it actually had a single turbo, despite what the stickers indicate.
The variety of cars is pretty huge actually. They all seem to be using the same kind of R-compound tyres, but beyond that there was a massive variety.
This Esprit NSX was one of the fastest outright on the very long Suzuka circuit. In one garage we bumped into an old friend. Chinan-san from CNY Sports had just finished building his AE86 for a customer to suit both drift and circuit racing. On the fast Suzuka track, it still behaves more like a drift car.
S14 をベースにヘッドのチューニング、カムを変えて、あとは腰下は一応今ノーマルです。で、タービンは2835プロをオリジナルのタコ足を作って、で、まあ420、30馬力を目標に。
Takoashi literally means octopus legs, which is what they call a custom exhaust manifold in Japan, for obvious visual reasons. It's always been one of my favorites.
そう。
はい。
あとミッション
ミッションは今のところ14のノーマルがついてます。
あ、
はい。
ディフとブレーキは
ブレーキはまあGT-R のブレーキがついてて、あとはデフは 7.5 インチのデフ大きくしてあります。
そう。
Yeah, the diff is a weak point in a AE86, particularly if you're running a turbocharged 2-litre instead of a 4A. Yeah, that approach into turn one is a bit different to a Formula 1 car. They don't even brake for the first kink, but then brake hard for the second part of the corner. Whereas cars like these, they really feel a bit lost out on a huge circuit like that. It's very hard to judge how hard you can enter a corner, and you don't want to be that one guy who holds everything up all the time because you've gone out into the sand. car would really benefit from a bit of downforce, a bit of aero of some sort. You can see where he's coming along those corners after just before Spoon, where a car with plenty of downforce would probably be flat out, and he's having to really feather the throttle, and he's still sliding a bit along there.
That last set of S's is only for club events, to keep speed down on the main straight.
Actually, that's not true. There's been S's at that last corner since 1982, but in 2003 they actually changed the shape of the S's, which is probably what confused me at the time, because it was obviously brand new tarmac there. I think they call that the Casio triangle. His rear tyres are certainly not doing the job for him there. In such a light car, it is very hard to maintain rear grip after a few laps, and understandably he came in after this.
On such a long circuit, the tyres start to go after just a few laps, so Garage Defend had plenty of spare sets for their car. This R33 GT-R competes in the Super Taikyu series, which is one of the most competitive classes in Japan. Body mods are limited, but there is still plenty of special parts on this car, like the oil cooler for the diff and the titanium exhaust system. Big ducts at the front feed enormous 15-inch AP brake discs with 6 piston calipers. The turbos are Trust T517Zs, chosen for response rather than outright power. Garage Defend claim a power output of 550 horsepower, but that all depends on the boost. The billet brake master is very race oriented, though plenty of street tuning parts are used too. Most important is the cooling system, using an ARC header tank. Inside, the weight reduction isn't too dramatic, but air jacks have been incorporated into the cage to help with pit stops during a race. The transmission is an R34 Getrag 6-speed, though on shorter tracks they often use a close ratio OS Geekin 5-speed.
You see there it actually had the original R34 GT-R gear knob as well, which is a bit of a giveaway. There's a lot of racing classes like Super Taikyu all over the world, really, where you have to keep the profile of the car looking pretty much normal. They may allow you to have a bigger rear wing, but the cars are intended to look much like they did from the factory. So there are limitations also on the tyre size and that sort of thing to keep it all nice and competitive. Garage Defend, incidentally, are just down the road, basically, from Kids Heart, where Tezuka was working in the previous part of this video.
car in front is the same R33 we saw earlier. It produces well over 700 horsepower, but lacks a little finesse.
Keeps having a look, but the guy didn't seem to want to let him by.
The blue R33 is also in a straight line, but too sketchy in the corners, so the garage defend driver backs off to let him get away. Just when things are looking good, an intercooler hose pops off and spoils the lap.
You could hear something go wrong as he's coming out of that corner. Looking at those pipes, I don't think they had a very good bead. It always makes it easier for a pipe to come off.
Makes you wonder how much boost they were running. The hose was easy enough to fix, but they were already out of time for this session.
That's it for the little trip to Suzuka. It was another one of those occasions where I would have liked to maybe have another cameraman or two, which would have allowed me to get the camera into a few more cars and talk to some more people as well. But that was the sort of limitations I was working under, doing it all as a one-man band. Anyhow, that's it for part 4. I'll be back soon with part 3. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Cheers.